The family of Hotel Rwanda hero Paul Rusesabagina has filed a lawsuit in the U.S. of what they say was his alleged abduction by the country's government as well as torture. Rusesabagina is serving a 25-year prison term on terrorism charges after a trial that his supporters say was a sham and riddled with irregularities. Let's talk more about this then with Paul Rusesabagina's daughter, Carine Kanimba. Carine, a very good afternoon to you. Welcome to Daytime Update. Let's begin with the basis for your lawsuit and why you believe that you will be successful in suing the Rwandan government all the way in the United States.
Yes, thank you for welcoming me on the show. We assembled a very strong team of lawyers who have a lot of experience in this type of lawsuit, in the types of lawsuit that involves a government kidnapping, torturing an innocent citizen. We also know that in Rwanda, many people around the world have already raised their voices, calling on the Rwandan government to release my father. And now this lawsuit will allow them to continue to do so. As you know, in Rwanda, Paul Kagame controls the press, he controls the justice system, but he does not control the American justice system. So we hope to use the weight of the justice system to defend my father's name.
And you've gone, because your father was also living in the United States at the time when you say he was allegedly lured back to Rwanda to face trial by the government. What kind of support are you getting, if any at all, from officials in the United States, given that your father was a resident there?
Yes, my father is not only a resident of the United States, but he was also the recipient of the highest honor of the country, the U.S. Presidential Medal of Freedom. We have the support of the United States Special Presidential Envoy for Hostage Affairs, which means the United States considers my father a hostage or a wrongful detainee of the Rwandan government. This week, we had the honor of being welcomed at the White House as well, where we got to make the case for our father and to talk about the injustice and the human rights abuses being perpetrated by this government. And as you know, our family has suffered so much since his kidnapping. He was tortured. He was dragged across international borders in violation of international law. And we have people all over the world now raising their voices, not only in the United States. Don Cheadle and the family of Hotel Rwanda, the cast of Hotel Rwanda, from South Africa to Los Angeles to Asia, are all now joining their voices for my father, as they've all seen the work, the incredible work he has done in standing up for democracy and in standing up for the most vulnerable people who are, until today, continue to be oppressed by the Rwandan government. And now they're all campaigning for us. They're all campaigning for my father and trying to help us put enough pressure on the Rwandan government to release my father.
But Carine, what are the chances that the Rwandan government will actually bow to any court judgment in the United States or any other kind of international pressure to release your father, Mr. Rusesabagina, because the court system there and even the government feel he's quite rightly been jailed on the charges that he was convicted on?
Right, but this is a government that is a dictatorship. This is a government that has been oppressing its people for many years. However, Rwanda wants to continue to play on the international field. Rwanda has many partners around the world, and all of Rwanda's partners are now telling Rwanda to release my father. So at the end of the day, you know, all I can do as his daughter is to continue to pray, is to continue to knock on every door, and is to continue to hope that my father stays alive. He's being mistreated. He's being tortured. He's been even denied his medication in prison. During the genocide, my father saved lives. He saved 1,268 lives. He risked his life every single day, and he never lost hope. And he continued to risk it and saved all these people. Not a single person was killed. And today, we are doing the same thing. We will not lose hope, and we will continue to knock on every door until Paul Kagame agrees to let my father go.
So your father is basically accused because in 2018, one of the comments he made was about changing the situation in Rwanda by whatever means necessary, and that was then interpreted as a call for regime change. There was also violence around the same period in the country. If that was not a call for regime change, what exactly did he mean, that people in Rwanda had to change the situation by any means necessary?
So calling on people to stand up for their human rights is not a crime. Calling on a vulnerable population that has been oppressed, killed, jailed, unjustly jailed by this regime is not a crime. And my father did the right thing to stand up for the most vulnerable people of the Great Lakes region of Africa. And you know what? In the entirety of the trial, my father was kidnapped. He wasn't extradited, which means the Rwandan government did not have any credible evidence to warrant a illegal extradition. They had to kidnap him and drag him across international borders, torture him, and make him go through a sham trial. Throughout the trial, they provided zero credible evidence about his guilt, which means that my father is not only innocent, but he's suffering as an innocent man only because he dared to criticize a government that is oppressing African people.
There is still no guarantee, correct me if I'm wrong, that Rwanda will even participate in the process in the United States, right? And what if they ignore whatever the outcome is?
So if Rwanda does not respond by May 8th, this will go to a default judgment. And so, of course, the lawyers will continue to follow this, but this means that the United States court system will continue to do its work. What we know is that at the end of the day, we are just doing as his daughter and as his adopted daughter, because both my biological parents died during the genocide, and he rescued me. Paul Rusesabagina rescued me from a refugee camp and adopted me and raised me as his own daughter. As his daughter, I will continue to do everything in my power to save his life. Whether Rwanda comes to the American justice or not, we will continue to raise our voices and we will continue to pray so that my father stays alive and that he comes home.
I wanted to ask you about the amount. 400 million is what you're suing for in US dollars. Why that figure specifically? Because I also know you've said that it will increase with every day that your father is kept longer in incarceration.
So this is a calculation made by our incredible team of lawyers that has done this type of cases before. So this calculation is made on precedent cases, on the type of amount that has been paid out by government, by corrupt governments like this one in the past, for violating such similar things, like in the way that they have violated all of my father's basic human rights and the way that they have made our family go through hell. As you know, I have been, they have been tracking me, they have been following me, they have been doing everything to try to intimidate me into silence. I will not stop, and this lawsuit will allow us to continue to use the weight of the American justice system to bring Rwanda to account.
And your father is still, as you're saying, at this point, in jail in Rwanda. Are you able to speak to him freely? I know you said he's unwell at the moment.
We are not able to speak freely. We only have 5 minutes with him over the phone. And over this 5 minutes, he's surrounded by people who are controlling what he can and cannot say. We are frightened. You know, my father, as I said earlier, he's being denied his medication, and he's only until he recently had a stroke that left him with a deformed lip and partial facial paralysis. My father did not have that before he was kidnapped to Rwanda. So again, we can only hope, we can only pray, and we can only work with all our hearts to try and save his life.
And what does he tell you about the conditions in jail, apart from being denied medication and his movement being tracked, as you suggest? How is the general welfare behind bars in Rwanda for him? Is he being treated differently from other inmates?
Absolutely. First of all, so we do have 2 Rwandan lawyers, and every time they go visit him, they confiscate every single document that they try to bring in. Not only the Rwandan authorities confiscate them and read his private interactions with the lawyers, which means all the documents of his lawyers, which should be protected under attorney-client privilege, are being taken, confiscated by the Rwandan authorities, and entirely read. Another thing is that my father is being isolated. First, he was held in solitary confinement for over 260 days, which is a violation of the United Nations Nelson Mandela rules, which says that holding someone in solitary for more than 15 consecutive days amounts to psychological torture. After we made a lot of noise about it, they finally allowed him out of solitary. However, now he's not allowed to make any contact with any other prisoner. They've warned everyone in the prison not to speak with him, which means that even today he's isolated entirely. One time when we spoke with him over the phone, we asked him, "Dad, why does your voice sound like this?" And he told us that's because I have not had any interaction with anyone until the last time we spoke. that means even it's affecting his voice as well. So again, my father is a hero of the genocide. My father is a humanitarian. My father does not deserve what's happening to him. All he did was stand up for the people, stand up for democracy, and stand up against the violation of and the abuse of human rights.
Carine Kanimba, the daughter of Paul Rusesabagina, who's jailed in Rwanda on those terrorism charges. The family now suing the Rwandan government for his release. Carine, thank you very much for your time.